Good afternoon for all the participants. Welcome to our next webinar series for CHPC Toolboxes. Today we're going to have the topic on apply basic techniques of commercial cookery. Let me introduce myself. Maybe some of you already know me. My name is Teguh Rinaldi Putra. I am from Metland School in Kabupaten Bogor. Today I will be your moderator. Our speaker today is Chef Nicky Fernando. Welcome, Chef Nicky. He is the one of teacher teaching on food production in Metland School, Kabupaten Bogor. It also happened to be the head of culinary program in Metland School too. I see that participants, we only have 17 participants in the room right now. I think we just wait. We give another 10 minutes before we start while we're waiting for all the participants to join the room. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Mr. Song, General Manager of Novotel Jakarta Cikini. He will be the representative of the industry from this seminar. Good afternoon, Mr. Song.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Very great, thank you, sir. Please let me introduce our speaker today for you, sir, Mr. Nicky Fernando from Metland School, Cilengsi. He will be the speaker for today. And I hope that you may share some of your perspective in this topic, which is our topic today is the basic technique of commercial cookery.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome again all the participants. Right now, we already have increased more participants. I saw 48 persons already in the room. Also, would like to say my greetings to all the team from Siamolek and Siamio. Thank you for another opportunity for us, Metland School, to conduct another webinar series. Previously, we held the webinar series from the topic of room decoration, which is a provide butler service for guests. And now today, we're going to have a webinar series on the culinary and basic technique of commercial cookery. First of all, let me share the curriculum vitae of our speaker today. Moment, Okay, let me introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Nicky Fernando. He is currently the head of kitchen department in Metland School of Tourism in Cilengsi, Bogor. He has several experience in kitchen industry. You may see on his curriculum vitae, he was first started as a kitchen trainee in Hyatt Regency Hotel Bandung. He was also have a part-time and time as a daily worker in the Ritz-Carlton Pacific Place Jakarta, Dharma Wangsa Hotel Jakarta, and continue as a kitchen staff in Casablanca Catering Jakarta, chef de partie in BBK Grill Jakarta, and currently he is now the head of kitchen department in Metland School of Tourism. His educational background, he was in Jakarta International Hotel for diploma in hotel management in 2012 and graduated in 2015, specialized in food production management. And he is now currently applied bachelor in hotel administration management in Trisakti Institute of Tourism in Jakarta, specialized in hotel management and administration. Right. Then Chef Nicky, we in our school usually call him Chef Nicky, is one of the young staff in Metland School. Like you, maybe some of you know that Metland School is the teacher, the trainer, all of the staff mostly are the age is under 40 because we believe that the young generation is have the responsibility to create uh, the future of our youth. All right, I think that's all for the opening from me. I will just give the spotlight to Chef Nicky Fernando to start the class, and I would also to welcome all the participants that getting more and more, and now we have the 55 participants. The participants are from all around Indonesia, and I also saw in the list some of you are residing in Thailand and Malaysia. So I hope that we can share everything here. I expect that all the participants not only listening from the lecture from our speaker, but you may also share your thoughts, your experience, and anything about it. All right. I give it to Mr. Nicky Fernando.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Teguh. Can you help me to share my PowerPoint, Mr.?
Sure. Oh, a moment. Maybe you may start with a few things about yourself, Chef Nicky.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Before we start this class today, I will introduce myself. My name is Nicky Fernando. I'm the head of culinary program at Metland School. Today, I will explain about the apply basic of technique commercial cookery. That is the basic point of the food production. Because today in this point, we will learn about the basic. We start from the choosing the equipment until we start or we analyze what is the basic of cooking method we can use to make some dishes. Okay, this is my PowerPoint. Thank you, Mr. Teguh. In the real of CATC, the PowerPoint is very much, there are 81 of slide in that PowerPoint. So I made the simple PowerPoint. I made 20 slide because it's too long. That's not enough if I'm explaining for today's, and so I will make it simple in 20 slide. So okay, this is the PowerPoint. Let me start this class. Okay, everybody. Basic technique of commercial cookery. This is the basic point of the food production skill, because if we want to handler, we must know the we can tough in the industry operational. Mr. Ryu, can you give me the next slide, please? Okay, guideline, basic of commercial cookery. The first point is equipment. Equipment, after that, the environment, safety, hygiene, and sanitation. This all is about our environment, job, workplace, or ourselves. First, I will explain about the equipment in the kitchen. In the kitchen, there is a type of equipment. First, we can call it the equipment, and the second, we can call the utensil. What the difference? Equipment is a heavy machine we can move from that place, and the utensil is a small equipment we can take and carry with our hand. Example for the equipment is like an oven, gas stove, wok, and then salamander. That's all the big equipment in the kitchen. And for the utensil example is like a knife, pillar, we can carry with our hand and we can move to every place we want. But for the equipment, we can make the thing move from that place. So we must take care of this equipment because the equipment in the kitchen will be the expensive material in the kitchen. Before we use the equipment in the kitchen, we must have the training session how to operate this equipment. It's so important in the kitchen because if we not care about this training, we will make this machine not work in proper and can make ourselves will be in danger situation. Example, if we use a meat slicer in the kitchen, if we didn't know how to use this equipment, it's so dangerous for us, for the kitchen, for the chef, for the food handler, because in that machine there will be a very sharp knife. We can slice everything what we want. That's why we need training. Where is the dangerous part? Where is the danger zone of this part? The track of the knife, how we can operate the knife, how we can move the knife to make a slicing. Sir, wait a moment, Mr. Teguh. Okay, next for the small equipment or the utensil. Small equipment is commercial kitchen include small electrical equipment. It's like a mixer, blender, liquid slicer, vitamizer, stick, blender, and food processor. Measuring equipment like a scale, jug, cups, spoon, thermometer, and timer. And utensil for preparation. Preparation equipment for we usually use in the kitchen is like a bowl, whisk, mortar, rolling pin, mallet, strainer, colander, channels, and then if we are in charge in the banquet, we always prepare the preparation equipment like a tongs, spatula, and ladles. And the next is sustainability. Commercial kitchen use large amount of energy to operate the maintain equipment. Consider how we save the energy in the workplace. Gas and the electricity on off as we need. That's why, because we can saving our gas power or gas supply. The second is using the right size equipment. Example, if we want to make an a la carte order, we didn't need use a big stock or a big pot or a big wok. We use the equipment with the right size what we need. Next, we use using lid on pot if appropriate. If we want to make a boil, if we want to boiling something in the kitchen, we very appropriate if we use the lid to close up the pot, because the heat will be full cover in the pot. That's why we can make all the boiling ingredient will be more fast for tendering. And next, use the equipment is safe manner according manufacturer and enterprise procedure. This is a commercial equipment can be hazardous if not used correctly, and a safe manner consider the dangers of electrical and gas equipment. That's why we need a training. And then sharp knife and blades. Additionally, the kitchen environment can be hazardous place when using equipment. Consider the dangers of, this is the danger of from the environment of or the workplace is like a slippery floor, heavy lifting, extreme of heat and chemical. Next, for the food handler or for the chef, when we are working in commercial kitchen, we must provide with the personal protective equipment. This is referred to as PPA. Types of PPA include, first is cook uniform. Cook uniform will be especially designed to protect against heat and spill for the kitchen or the chef or the food handler. And then next is the glove. Type design of the protect against heat. There are many types of glove in the kitchen. If we design to protect against from it, usually we used to take out something or a food from the oven. And then another glove is rubber glove. Rubber glove is prevent us from the chemical, because there are some of chemical in the kitchen we can touch with our whole skin, because there will be some risk for us. And then we use the rubber glove with the other color to preparation of the ingredient, usually to prevent for bacteria cuts bacteria from the other place or cross contamination. And the another glove is in the butcher. We call it is the iron glove. It prevent us from the cuts or the bleeding because from the sharp knife or the sharp machine. And then in the pandemic era, we always use the eye protection or face mask to keep us health from the other. This is the new protocol. We know we must always use the mask in the kitchen. And the next, equipment safety. Each type of equipment has a potential risk. Be aware of the risk and always practice safety procedure when using. Example, like electrical and gas equipment. Next is knife, and then steamer and slicer. Steamer is have extreme temperature. If we don't be carefully, it's so dangerous for us when we are open the steamer, when we are done in steaming, because we must wait the steam comes out and then we can open the steamer. And then for the select and apply use equipment is hygiene procedure. Equipment handling include food safety elements such as cleaning and sanitizing equipment and the surface. Cleaning and store equipment as appropriate to enterprise procedure. All food and the surface in the kitchen have microorganism or bacteria present. Cleaning and sanitizing equipment. What the difference between cleaning and sanitizing? Cleaning is we must clean the mean physical removing from dirt, residue, or the food particle. That means it's a cleaning. And for the sanitizing is mean killing the microorganism on the surface of the equipment. That's the difference of the cleaning and sanitizing. Clean and storage equipment as appropriate to enterprise procedure. All food and surface in the kitchen have microorganisms or bacteria present. Cleaning and sanitizing equipment aims to prevent cross-contamination. That's why we must sanitize, because if you not sanitize, we not kill the organism, but because the organism we can see with our whole eyes. And minimize the level of bacteria to prevent food poisoning. and then we can prevent from the food spoiling, because the raw ingredient is very, very danger for us if we are not taking care, because the bacteria will grow if in the ingredient we can over there a water, air, and food, because that three things is need bacteria to grow up. If we want to keep something, we must make sure there on that, and then there is no air, and then there is no food for the bacteria to growing up in that equipment. Cleaning and sanitizing, the standard procedure for cleaning equipment is as follows. First, remove a visible food residue by scraping or pre-cleaning. After that, wash using the detergent or hot water to make sure all of the surface clean, and then we rinse it with the fresh water. After we rinse with fresh water, after that we sanitize the equipment. After we sanitize, we air dry the equipment to make sure there is no water in that equipment storage. Clean equipment needs to be stored appropriately so that contamination is minimized, usually under the bench of container or drawer. It's easy and safe to access. Occupationally, health and safety factors are taken into account. Have stuck low on shelf, reaching over hot stove and flame is not required to storing. Stack evenly and not too high so it doesn't fall. So if you will keep the utensil in the storeroom, make sure this thing, heavy item, it should be stacked in low. And stack evenly and not too high so it doesn't fall. It's not damaged or broken. And we must make sure all of the equipment or utensil we use there is no damage or broken, because 100% in the kitchen we use a stainless steel as a material. If there are damage, we are a little bit care about the stainless, that dirt of stainless can be getting into the food and making the food poisoning for the guests. We must make sure that our equipment and utensils. And then equipment maintenance. Equipment needs maintenance. Kitchen to the establishment follow including calibrating oven and thermometer, sharpening knife and blade on slash and mandolin. Okay, in this maintenance section, we usually when we are working in the hotel, every week we must check the chiller or the freezer with the calibration method. Example, when the digital temperature show to 4 degree, we must make sure that ice water in the chiller. We wait for the 1 day and then we test the water. We make sure the temperature is same with the digital and the temperature in the bottle. That's name is calibration. And so and when check my thermometer in the boiling water, if still there in 100 Celsius, it means our thermometer is not error. And the standard procedure for cleaning equipment as a follow. Mr. Teguh, can we next in the next slide? wet cookery method. When I get learn in my university, I have a knowledge will be separate in the three. First, it's wet cooking, dry moist heat cooking, dry heat cooking, and cooking with fat. But now I got a new information about the cooking with fat is come to be a dry heat method. So first I will explain about the wet cookery method. Next slide, Mr. Teguh. Wet cookery method is one of cooking method. We use liquid to make sure the food is cooked well. Example like a boiling, steaming, poaching, braising, stewing. So wet cookery method is we need liquid or water to help us to finish our cooking method. For example, the function of the water is for the heat transfer within food, in the medium in which food are we cook via the energy source of for cooking. Heat transfer method is there are three types of heat transfer method. First is conduction, the second is convection, and the last is radiation. Boiling. Boiling is a subjection of food to heat totally submerged in a liquid at the 100 degrees Celsius. Usually the boiling water is always 100 degrees Celsius because the water boiling point is 100. There will be never coming up. Gentle boiling water is referred to as a simmering is 95 to 98 degrees Celsius. This temperature we like used to simmering the soup. So, but we can make the temperature more down to the 60 until 70 for the simmering. Principle of boiling. The item must be completely covered in the liquid. Make sure if we want to boil something raw ingredient, we make sure the water more high and we must make sure the water all the liquid is cover all the ingredient on the pot. Salted meat and root vegetable must be stored in cold water. Example root vegetable is like a potato. If we boil a potato, must be in cold water. If we boil potato in the boiling water, that will be take a long time because the surface of the potato the surface of the potato will be cooked and make harder in the surface of the potato. That's why if we would like to boil the potato, is come from the cold water. If we hot water, that surface will be hard and the starch will be shed on the surface. That's why the heat is hard to comes the potato. Next, the green vegetable in the water and be uncovered while cooking to retain color. This is usually used for a blanch vegetable. We must use the hot water or the boiling water to the green vegetable because if we use boiling water, we will keep the color still clear. And make sure if we want to boil the vegetable, we never close the pot of the boiling water of the boiling vegetable, because if we close or we put a lid on top the stove, the temperature will be pushed back. The heat will be more. This will be give a new pressure from the up. That's why the vegetable will be broke or will be, we can talk the overcooked. Scum that range must be removed by skimming. If we boil the vegetable, green vegetable, usually will be there rises on top the water, or there foam, the dirt of the vegetables will be there in on top the water. That's why we must skim the water, that's dirt, to make sure our stock is, or our liquid is still clear. Stock should be simmered to prevent they become cloudy. That's why if we want to make a stock, first we must bring to boil our boiler first. After we get boil, we must make sure the temperature will be simmered. That's because if we are still pushed in the boiling water, the stock result will be cloudy or not clear. Because if we use when the bone there's on the water and we push in the boiling water, the dirt of the bloods and the dirt of the bone will be mixing again with the water, or will be broke from the surface and comes and get back to the down of the pot. That's why if we are still the boiling temperature in when we are made stock, that's why the stock will be cloudy. Fish is unsuitable for boiling as it tends to break up. For the fish, usually in the professional or in the hotel, we never boil the fish. Maximum we poach the fish. We never boil the whole fish, because if we are boiled the fish with the high temperature, the fish flesh will be broken. If we want to cook a fish, usually we use a poaching method or a blanch method. Next, Mr. Teguh. Mr. Teguh bisa blanching. Okay, blanching is the process of partly cooking food or later used by immersing in a hot liquid to remove the bitter taste from many vegetable product. Partly cooked to speed up the cooking time, assist in removing in the skin for some. In the first point, remove the bitter taste from the many vegetable. Usually the green vegetable have more chlorophyll, because the chlorophyll give the bitter taste. That's why we need to blanch the green vegetable. We must blanching, but I ever think blanching is not cooking method, because this method is not make the raw material will be ready to eat. Okay, blanching can be done in either hot or cold water. Cold water to open the cells, remove bloods, impurities to leach out the strong taste and salt from the salted meat. If we blanch from the hot water, the function is to seal in flavor and juicy partly pre-cooked food and to assist in the removal of skin. Example, tomato and peach. When we are blanch the tomato is to take a skin out. We must give a scratch in the skin to make our easier to take out the skin from the tomato. Blanching can be done in either hot and cold water. Blanching can also be hot fat at 100 degrees Celsius. Usually we use this blanching method in hot fat or hot oil at 150 degrees Celsius. Is usually we want to take out the plastic skin of the bell pepper. Usually we use this method for make sure the bell pepper there is no skin plastic, because for the breakfast, for the omelette condiment, we use that bell pepper to make sure, because like a plastic skin can be make our taste is not comfort in the mouth. And very critical point of the blanching is refreshing. Is when hot blanched food is plunged into a cold water to stop the cooking process, or Okay, so after we done, when we are blanch some food or some vegetable, make sure after we end of blanching, we put on the ice water to stop the cooking process on that vegetable. Usually blanching method is when we are blanch in boiling water, usually we only need 20 seconds. When the water comes boiling, we put the green vegetable, we count from 1 until 20, done, we take out and we put in the ice water to make sure that vegetable is still have a clearly color, the crispy texture. That's the function of the ice bathing or the cooling down process with the ice to make sure the texture and the color more good. And the main point is to stop the cooking progress from the hot water. Next, Mr. Teguh. Okay, poaching. Poaching is a subjection of food to heat in a liquid held as close to boiling point as possible without movement of the liquid. Temperature of poaching is 73 until 75 degrees Celsius. Food is poached is to prevent fragile food from falling apart as when boiled. Second, to keep the food moist and tender. The third is as a nutritious way to cook, requiring no added fat with food retaining natural flavor. And the last is as aromatic, can also be added to the poaching liquid and the flavor to food. In the poaching method, we must always give an acidity to give an acidity in the water, because the acidity will help to more fast, will help the material is more fast to cook. If we want to poach something, we must concern first the item must be completely covered in the liquid. That's the same with a boil. The poaching is used acidity to help the cooking method. The second is start process by bringing the liquid to the boil, then reduce the heat to poach temperature before adding the food. First, we make a boiling water. We put some acidity like a vinegar, lemon juice. After that, we turn down the temperature and we start the poaching. Usually, poaching is for poaching. And I ever have a new knowledge from my lecture in my university. We can poach something with a bouillon or with a stock. But the same thing, we must give an acidity too. Whole large fish start in cold liquid to allow for even cooking. But when we want to make a poached fish with a big size, we must start from the cold water. Small fish and the fish cut start a poaching temperature. But if we want to poach some fish in the cutting on the portioning or stick cutting or supreme or a darnay, we can start from the hot. But for the whole fish, we must start from the cold water. For poaching egg, allow enough liquid for the egg to float freely. If we want to make a poached egg, we must use a liquid. It's not too much and it's not too low, because we must want make to egg can be really bro. If we are use too many water, the eggs will start to. If we use a very low water, is make egg not cover well. That's why we can make. Next, Mr. Teguh. The enclosed or confirmed space. Pressure varieties according to the type of equipment used. Atmospheric steaming 100 degrees Celsius. Pressure steaming is 121 degrees Celsius. Food is steamer because it's a very quick method of cookery, approximately twice as quick as boiling. Second is it retains the color, flavor, and nutrition value of food. It's a fat-free method for cookery. Steaming does not greatly enhance the flavor of a dish. Principle of steaming are suitable. Steaming very atmospheric steaming is suitable for tender item of the food. Steaming for tough cut of the food. The steamer or lidded. Pudding in basin must be covered with the grease-proof paper. The steamer must be hot before placing the food. Before we start steaming, we must make sure the steamer is have a so we preheat the steamer first to start steaming. Atmospheric steaming is suitable for tender item of the food. Usually I'm already use steam the tofu to make the tofu more set or more tough when we are to make another creation from the tofu. And pressure steamer is tough cuts of the food like a beef, like a game. We can use pressure steaming to make sure the collagen of the muscle content of the beef will be broke, because if we cook a meat, we won't have a tender meat. First step, make sure collagen or the muscle break down. That's the point of the steam. We are to cook big cuts or something tough ingredient. We must destroy the muscle, connecting tissue, and the collagen of the protein. The steamer must be tightly closed or lidded. When we are steam something or anything, we must make sure they all will be closed, because we must keep the temperature, because we need the pressure from the steamer to help us to make sure this food will be done. Pudding or basin must be covered with the grease-proof paper. Example, when we are steam a pudding, make sure we cover the top of the pudding mold with the paper, because if we are not, will be there water come to our pudding and make sure our pudding will be broke. The steamer must be hot before placing the food. Now that's the point is, if we want to steam, we must make sure the steamer is hot before we put the ingredient to the steamer. Next, Mr. Teguh. Okay, next is stewing. Stewing is the subjection of the food of the action of the heat in a minimum amount of simmering liquid or sauce. The principle of the stewing is the food item must be covered with liquid. Food to be simmered slowly to tenderize the meat and concentrate the flavor. Suitable for tough item of food. Item and cooking liquid are served together. Meat for stew can be either seared in hot fat first, like a ragu, left natural egg, or Irish stew. Stewing is I usually call is a very slow cooking method, because we need a couple hour to finish our food with the stewing method. Because if we use this stewing method, is usually we use cooking for a meat or for a game, for a beef. Example in Indonesia is rendang.
I think Chef Nicky is having trouble with his connection. Hello, Chef. Hello, chef. All right, and he is out of the connection. I do apologize for the inconvenience. Uh, we'll take a moment first before Team Chef to come back.
While waiting, perhaps
Mr.
if you guys have any questions you would like to ask, can put it up. I will try to answer.
Sure, maybe. I will ask a question, Mr. Song, may I?
Sure, please do.
Sure. Chef Nicky was just explaining about many kind of cooking methods in the basic of commercial cookery. What I want to know is, maybe you may explain in your establishment what kind of cooking method that really practice in your establishment. Like maybe you have what kind of restaurant with what kind of cooking method that will in general are practicing in your place.
Actually, Indonesian love frying.
Frying, yeah.
Yeah.
Do.
So that is the best. If you ask Indonesia, frying is the most preferred cooking method. Why? Because it's crispy, it's greasy, and it's unhealthy. However, as we all know, healthy food, or let's put it this way, unhealthy food is always tastes better.
Very
But
good. Yes.
but that was in 2000, or late 90s or 2000. But people nowadays start to change, especially when we have this pandemic happening. The habit of eating changed from unhealthy to slightly healthier. So if you ask me what type of cooking method that is more preferred nowadays, there is none, because every single ingredients cook or is prepared differently. So every single cooking procedures provide a different taste, different structure, different food quality with a different result. People change, the eating behavior change. So as an industry, we should be able to adapt to the current trend of the industry. I hope that's answering your question.
All right. And what is the most current trend actually? Like many people think that the healthy food are now become more bigger and bigger, and then people tend to leave the fried food and they prefer like steam, grill, or something maybe.
Well, actually, the most common cooking method now is about raw. As you can see, more and more people start to appreciate food from the nature. Salad is one of the kind. Perhaps if you're from Indonesia, you can see how many the salad or fruit stall or restaurant or whatever you want to call it in the mall is starting to be opening with basic cooking, or some of them even uncooked material which can be consumed directly, because most of the people believe that food that are being able to be consumed at raw contains the most nutritions comparing to processed or cooked food. Maybe if we compare to canned food, packaging food, that consists the less nutrition in comparison to raw or unprepared food that can be consumed directly. Who in this perhaps you also consume fruits and vegetable raw, especially Indonesian, or Sundanese, I believe, consume raw vegetable, and you can see how well they are in Jawa Barat, in West Java. Anything else, perhaps? There's no specific preferred cooking method today. People change, and even nowadays we have a new technology.
And paradox something is like maybe, okay, sure. Maybe I will.
Sorry, you're breaking
Sure.
up.
And maybe in the first slide we also Chef Nicky also explaining about how.
Teguh, I think you're breaking up. Can you repeat, please? Teguh.
I'm sorry for that, Mr. Song.
Yep.
You can hear me clearly right now?
Yes, now yes.
Sure. Previously, Chef Nicky also explaining about the equipment that used in the kitchen. Perhaps most of us really curious about how the actually kitchen in hotel do the maintenance for their equipment, because we know that every hotel has so many kitchens and that like a lot of equipment. I mean, what do the hotel or industry doing on keeping their equipment, their kitchen equipment?
Oh, kitchen equipment. That's which specific equipment you're asking? If you want me to go down to the detail, every equipment is maintained differently. Of course, we have a periodic maintenance that are put in place. Most important thing is we need to look into the input. Input is where the gas normally goes in, because that is quite crucial, and we need to ensure that whatever material that we use, it can be gas, it can be because some of the material that we use for cooking is not necessarily gas. It can be also wood or other burning material. So that is an important part to look into. We need to make sure the original source of fire, or heat in this case, must be looked after, so there's no debris or leftover, so it won't trigger a working accident. Number two is we need to look into the cooking area. For example, I believe you're opening the slide of steaming. Steaming, you need to make sure that the steaming device are clean. There's no other leftover food, because it will it will trigger a different taste, but it also can trigger other aspect of the cooking that is not done properly. For example, after you steam a fish, you might need to change the water into a new water instead of using the same water to steam, I don't know, maybe dim sum, because after that the dim sum will taste like a fish. So those are the basic maintenance. But if you want to go into technical, I believe we all need to consult with our engineering, as every single device has their own maintenance procedure. For those that are in the industry, normally we have third-party company to maintain our equipment. Normally.
All right then. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Song. Well, actually, there is a participant that would like to ask a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Ibu Neni Murniawati, would you please maybe just turn on your microphone and you just directly your microphone and you just
done.
Directly.
Just done. Okay, thanks for the time. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I am a culinary teacher from SMK number 3 Bima Town, West Nusa Tenggara. And then let me ask a question, but before I would like to give an explanation. As we know that in a hot kitchen hotel, yeah, such as a chef, the staffs inside, and mostly of them are the workers. The workers are men, and barely women workers. Am I right? Yeah, just correct me if I am wrong. Then in my town, mostly my culinary students are girls, and little bit difficult little bit difficult the society around to convince that the culinary major is good enough for the boys' future. So my questions is to the guest speaker, do you have any suggestion on how to convince the society around in my town to take a part of this measure? Yeah, that's all the point. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Ibu Neni. That is actually a very good question. Maybe you want to answer it directly, Mr. Song. How do you convince the boys to enroll in culinary? Because like it's also happened in my school that most of the students are girls, but in fact in the industry we can see that more boys are involved in this industry. What do you think, Mr. Song?
It's funny because most of the applications that I receive for kitchen are male. So it is not.
Okay.
It is not in line with what. Well, this is good because you know both of you are from education sectors. Me, I'm coming from industrial area. So if I open up my my recruitment email, I would say 90% of my applicants are male. So it's quite odd that you said that student side, in education side, most of the application for studying culinary or cooking education are mostly female. So if you ask me, how can we encourage more male participants in taking educational course? I believe even nowadays you can see a lot of famous chefs are male. Yeah, so well, it can be both. You know, when we have a handsome gentleman becoming a celebrity chef, of course, that will attract more female students to join. That is normal. But at the same time, that should also encourage more male students to participate because they can see that how successful they are. We take in Indonesia, perhaps most of us know Chef Index. He's a male. So we have also Chef Chandra and Juna, and most of the celebrity chefs are male. So those are already good examples of male kitchen people, or culinary professionals are heading to the right direction. Saying this, I'm not saying female are not doing well. Most of the female excels in pastry and bakery, most probably pastry. We can see a lot of international pastry chef, renowned pastry chef are mostly female, because I believe female normally, I'm stereotyping, correct me if I'm wrong, female are mostly detail-minded, and they prefer art more than male. Not saying that male are not artistic, but I believe some items are good in the touch of a female than male. So how can we encourage male participant in education side? Is a common ideologi ya bahasanya mungkin ya. Ideology saying that kitchen are for female, but reality in industry, I have more male application in comparison to female in hot kitchen especially. But if you're talking about pastry, mostly are female that are applying.
Sure. Maybe it's also have to do with the location, right, Mr. Song? Like in Jakarta, probably that more male are interested in this industry. But Ibu Neni is from, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes, please.
Ibu Neni is from?
Me
Yeah.
from Negara.
Oh, West Nusa Tenggara. Probably the differences is also because the location in West Nusa Tenggara, the culture in every province is different in every city. That maybe in West Nusa Tenggara, men are not really into this industry. But like Mr. Song said, Ibu Neni, that you can encourage the students, the male students, to be more have a figure in our television. They can see them, and then you can also encourage them because the industry have that more male male. How about it, Ibu Neni?
Okay, thanks a lot for the explanation. I got it. Yeah, the solution is it is based on the what is that? Berdasarkan apa ya? Berdasarkan bekerja ya. Based on the working place. Is it basically or hot kitchen, cold kitchen? Even in cold kitchen, maybe there are some female or male. Maybe depends on hotel.
Sorry, Bu Neni, I can't really hear you clearly because your signal, I think there's a little bit trouble with your signal.
Yeah, yeah. The signal is upside down. The signal is upside down.
Yeah.
So I think it is based on hotels need which workers needed in the hotel, male or female. That's all.
Yeah, Mr. Song, maybe Ibu Neni is asking about, but you should already said about it, but maybe you can emphasize. Emphasize is which gender it's more preferred in your industry, in the hot kitchen. Is it for male or female? Is it pastry or is it male or female? I mean, you already answered that, but you can maybe emphasize about it. I mean, you already you can
Okay, I'm waiting because it's a little bit noisy. There's no preferences, male or female. I have a female chef de partie in hot kitchen. I have a male sous chef. I have a female pastry. So, well, in international company, we are not allowed to actually have preferences of male or female. It's gender equality. You can hire male or female as long as you deliver the same performance. There should not be preferences in terms of gender. So for those companies that are still having preferences in gender, I believe the company is not practicing gender equality standard, which should be a common practice in Indonesia or worldwide, I believe. So if you ask me, prefer male, female, no preferences. I don't prefer male, female. I interviewed people based on performance. I don't prefer people that are Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or Hindus, or whatever religions they are, as long as they can deliver their performance. I don't prefer it is a straight person, is a, sorry, LGBT or whatever. I basically do not really look into that. Basically, whoever that deliver the performance, I hire. So it's a performance-based industry. Not gender or religions or sexual preferences. There should not be such interview base to recruit the people.
All right, sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Song. I hope, Ibu Neni, you will get the answer for all the question that it is not a gender-based industry. It is a performance-based industry. So you just prepare your students to have a good skill and a great performance at work, no matter if they are male or female or something in between, maybe. All right, then. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Song, for the answers, and thank you, Ibu Neni, for the questions. Well, I think before we have another question and answer. Chef Nicky is already joining us back. Hello, Chef Nicky. Are you still there?
Yes, Mr. Teguh.
Yes. Can we continue with your presentation, Chef?
Okay, Mr. Teguh, is a little bit more is this wet cooking method. Still in steaming, sir. For the last point is in the steaming is why is food must be steamed. First, the steamer method is a very quick method of cookery, approximately twice as quick as boiling. Because if we use the steaming method, is more quick from the boiling method, and if we use the steaming method, we can keep the nutrition, and the other will keep in that raw ingredient. Because if we use a boiling method, the sum of nutrition is will be comes out and will be there in the water. And the why is food must be steamed is retain the color, flavor, and nutritional value of the food. That's my explanation before, and it's a fat-free method of cookery. Steaming doesn't not greatly enhance the flavor of the dish. Next, Mr. Teguh. I will finishing the stewing first, and then the last cooking method is braising. Stewing the food item must be covered in the liquid. The stewing progress is take a long time, very long time, because we can call it the slow cooking method. I think I'm done in the stewing, Mr. Teguh, and the next is the braising for the last. Braising is the subjection of the food, the action of heat in oven. It's enclosed in the container with the liquid of the sauce. Braising is used to tenderize food item of a tough nature. Combine food to create flavorsome dishes. Braising principle: food item to be braised should be of the like a game meat, or like some big cuts from the beef, or like around. Most food must be sealed before braising. Before we braising, I think is the continuous cooking method from the stewing. First time we stew the raw material. After we done with the stewing process, and make sure liquid will be half in the pot, and then we close the stewing food, and we put the oven. We put on the oven, and we can call that is braised. But in braising progress will be there a new step from the stewing is the name we can call is the basting progress. We pour the liquid on top the surface of the, not deep in the liquid. That's to make the moist of the food on the surface. The surface of the food is still moist. We basting. We put the liquid from the sauce, and we pour on top the process is usually will be done in 3 until 6 hours. Will be need that braising method is we used to cook the big cuts. Most food must be sealed in the fall before braising. Braising pan should be in keeping the size of must food be sealed before braising. Braising pan should be in keeping with the size of the item being braised. Items must be half covered with the liquid. Container must be tightly lidded to stop evaporation. Process carries out slowly to tenderize tough meat. Liquid may be used to produce a sauce. Vegetable served with a sauce made separately. The liquid is usually too strong and similar in the taste to vegetable. The braising method, I have an experience when I training in the hotel. I'm got an order from my chef is to make a turkey braising for the Christmas event. That's why I know how to braise. First time is we marinate the turkey for one whole night. After that, we stew the turkey first. After that, we put the turkey in the oven, and I tell my chef, this is what's the method. This is the braising, but we must busting the progress every 30 minutes to make sure the surface of that food is not be crack, or we must keep the surface of that food is still moist. Apply appropriate method for preservation. Each of the method of cookery lends itself to particular type of food. Make sure the method of cookery selected are appropriate for the food being prepared. You also need to apply the specific of the selected method of cookery to associate the preparation technique for each method of cookery. We are as a teacher must be tell to our student, if you want to make some food, you must make sure what is the perfect cooking method, what you need to make that food. So I will give example some types of food appropriate food for boiling. Boiling usually we make use for pasta, tough cut, or meat.
Merata dan berkeadilan. Yang keempat,
eggs in cell, green vegetable, and then boiling method is used for make a stock and soup. Poaching method usually used for to poach the seafood, chicken, beef fillet, fruit, and the fish. Steaming method usually we can use for the seafood, chicken, rice, and vegetable, and pudding and dumplings. There. For the braising method, usually we can use for cook for the tough cut of meat, whole fish, root, and fibrous vegetable. Stewing usually used for the tough cut of the meat, some fish and shellfish, fruit, root, fibrous, and fibrous vegetable. Associate preparation method, boiling is soaking, skimming, and refreshing. For the poaching is submerging, draining, and reducing poaching liquid. And for the steaming is molding and wrapping. Braising is to get the browning. Then how we can identify and solve the problem in the application of the cooking method is when we are cooking food using the wet method of cookery, we likely to encounter common the problems such as overcooked food, tough meat, soggy disease, sauce too dry or too wet. That's we must identify, and usually the problem from the wet cooking is that overcooked food, tough meat, soggy disease, sauce too dry or too wet. Understanding the product that we are use will assist to improve skill. When we are use a drying method ini for the meats or animal muscle tissue, meat from the older animal is taller than from the younger animal. Muscle tissue develop with use so muscle that are used more or tougher. We can handle that problem with the wet cooking method. For the portioning control should be applied throughout the food preparation progress. Portioning control include using standard recipe, preparing food consistently, serving food consistently. And the problem of wet cooking method, what are common problem occur when boiling is overcooked. If we are forget to or check the ingredient when we are boiling, the problem is will be overcooked. Improving standard recipe should be refined as you go. Change may need to be made to timing, equipment, ingredient, technique, portion size. For to continue the improvement, our skill is cooking skill takes time to learn. After we done our practice today, I'm usually evaluation of my student skill and I will help to assist them to improve their all of the skill, because from the mistake we will be improve the skill. cooking system used in commercial kitchen for the wet method of cookery is the most common is cook and serve. Alternative to cook and serve include cook or chill, cook or freeze, and sous vide. For the finishing dishes, it must be consistent. It's like apportioning, plating, saucing, accompaniment, and garnish. We must make sure our food, when the finishing touch is saucing, accompaniment, and the garnish. That's why the function of the standard recipe. We must map all of the food is in standard. When the kitchen is running in every operation, we must communicate well in our team, because the key of the kitchen running well is the communication, because the communication is needed to coordinate the preparation of all the component of the menu. During food service, communication is needed to coordinate the dishes so the customer receive meal and desire. That's why the communication is very important in the kitchen operational. Maybe for today, the reason is my material is done in wet cooking method of cookery, and will be continuing in the tomorrow for the applied dry method of cookery, Mr. Teguh.
All right. Thank you, Chef.
Yes, you're welcome.
A moment. All right then. Thank you, Chef Nicky Fernando, for the insights, the presentation about wet cooking method. We already discussed that with Mr. Song also, that today we don't really have a preferred cooking method in industry, because everything is according to, I believe, that the guest preferences. Yeah, because many guests have their own preferences, maybe from their background, for the background of their culture, the background of their religion, the background of their health. Perhaps it will be a lot of variety on the cooking method preferred in hotel. Yeah, and then we also already know that from all the methods that were explained by Chef Nicky, that they have like advantages, disadvantages, many things that some maybe don't really create a great taste. Some don't really enhance the flavor of the food, and some maybe really enhance the flavor of the food, but not really good on the health side. So, like I said before, that everything has their own benefits, their own advantages and disadvantages. Like at the end of the day, that the customers, they chose their preferences. What kind of food, how do they food get made is based on the preference of the guest. Sure. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Perhaps if any of the participants have questions for today's material, you may submit it on the chat room, or maybe you just raise your hands, or just type the question directly to the chat room. All right. While waiting, maybe if there's a question, maybe I would like to address Mr. Sunardi Song. If you have anything to add about our topic today.
To add, maybe not, but things change. So point is that do not stay in the same way of cooking or, nowadays, just now, Nicky brought up a very interesting word, which is sous vide. Sous vide is also another new cooking method that are developed with the improvement or the evolution of cooking procedure. Sous vide start to be, I wouldn't say recent, but for the past 6 to 7 years back is happening quite often. So things evolve. Point is that as a culinary professionals or hotel industry people or students, we need to have an open mind to learn something new, implement something new, continue to evolve, and do not stay in your comfort zone. Other part that I believe maybe, if I'm not the expert on these, but molecular gastronomy is not a new cooking trend that happened 4 to 5 years ago. It's still very rare in Jakarta or Indonesia, but it's quite trending in other part of the world. So keep our eyes open, learn new cooking method, try them. There will not be new innovation if we don't try. We might fail, but if we don't try, we never know.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Song, for the wonderful input. That I do really agree about that. Actually, that we can learn many kind of old cooking method or anything, but as time evolves, that also the evolving many kind of methods that we are having today, the molecular gastronomy is a very good thing. Yeah. Maybe Chef Nicky, do you have something about molecular gastronomy?
Okay, so I will give a little bit knowledge about molecular gastronomy. Molecular gastronomic is the I agree with the Mr. Song from the Novotel. Is gastronomic is 5 years ago is tried start new come from the kitchen culinary, but I think from this molecular gastronomy is need new training for a new chef because we use a chemical to make this gastronomy method. I'm usually ever go to in some restaurant in Jakarta, they really special in gastronomy. Mr. Song, I saw because they play with the hydrogen chemical. I think I don't want to teach my student because I didn't know how to play with the nitrogen. I'm only teach about the santan gum, only like that, the simple thing. From the extreme chemical, I'm scared. Me is need more training, a few months for me to I can
Chef Nicky agree, because when you talk about molecular gastronomy, it combines several cooking methods and technology and chemical. So it's a multiple elements inside. It's not only cooking method, but we have technology inside. We have chemical knowledge inside. When I said chemical, is a nitrogen is one of them. You're right. And also other compound that are being used in the cooking process. Sous vide is more safe. It's not as much as it's not as complex as molecular gastronomy, but it also involves several elements of cooking procedures. But again, it's also involving technology. So cooking process evolve. I believe people start to look into technology inside cooking. I saw one question from Ibu Rosa, I believe, addressing to Pak Nicky, I believe.
Yeah, it's actually our students from Metland School. Rosa have a question. Chef Nicky explained about the poaching technique. is a boiling technique with the SCD. SCD, it's actually acidity. She would like to ask, is the ratio of acidity to water? If yes, what is the ratio of acidity to water? Yes, Chef Nicky.
Okay. Ratio of the 1.10. Example is if we use 100 milliliter of water, we only use 10 milligram of the acidity, because if we use too much, that will be give an acid taste of the something we poach. The ratio is 1.10. That's I got the knowledge from my experience, and some of book I read is 1.10 is for the ratio of the acidity with the water.
So actually, what kind of acid that they use, Chef, in the poaching technique? What kind of acid?
We can use any type of acidity, Mister, like a vinegar, a lemon juice, or apple cider, or white vinegar, any kind of acidity we can use for the poaching method.
Sure, any kind of acidity, but also with the same ratio, right, Chef? All right then. Okay. If there's any other question, just put it on the room chat. No, well, I think we already discussed about the question, all the material today for the basic commercial cookery with the wet cooking method. We will continue tomorrow, right, Chef, with another cooking method, which is, I believe, the dry cooking method. I hope that tomorrow Mr. Song will also join us again. Will you, sir?
Yeah, as schedule is 1 p.m. until 3, I believe.
Yeah, sure. Then, all right then. Mr. Song will also join us again tomorrow. But I believe that today is. Oh, there's another question. We still have plenty of time actually, so no problem if there's a question. We have the question from Panjali. She wants to have more knowledge about poaching, Chef. How many minutes that we have to poach? Yeah, about poach, the timing of the poaching, Chef. Maybe depends on the material, but we'll see.
Okay, I will answer the question from Vanjali. For the timing is for poaching is depend on the size of the item what we want to poach. Example, for the egg, we only need 2 until 3 minutes to make a poached egg, because the poached eggs, the egg yolk is still raw. But if we want to poach tuna, we need time like 5 minutes until 6 to get the pinkish tuna. So the answer of the time for poaching is the depend of the size item what we want to poach. If we want to poach a big size, that means we need a more time to poach that ingredient. The answer is the depend of the sizer.
Okay, and well, actually, what can you explain more? Actually, what kind of food that really suitable for the poaching technique besides egg?
Like a fish, Mr. Teguh, we can show some of menu in the fine dining restaurant is a poached tuna.
Okay.
Salmon. Usually for very soft flesh. That's not a recommend for the beef, because the beef is more muscular and much of tissue and the collagen. That's so.
How about chicken? Is it suitable for poached chicken?
Yes, it's suitable for the chicken. It's good too for the chicken, but usually we use the breast part.
Okay, the breast part is suitable for the poaching technique. Okay, then thank you, Chef.
You're welcome.
All right then. Maybe another question for all the participants. There's a few questions that already answered. Yeah, before we finish this session, I just want to remind all the participants, don't forget to fill your presents for this meeting. There's already a link shared by Mr. Zul in the chat room. Don't forget to fill your presence here. And also tomorrow, I hope that all of the participants that are joining today will be able to join tomorrow also, because in order to get the certificate, you have to join both of the meetings. Yes. We will also still have Mr. Nicky Fernando for today and also Mr. Sunardi Song for tomorrow. Okay. So do you have any other questions from the participants? I think if I see the chat room, it's all done. All right. Maybe before we finish this meeting, Chef Nicky, do you have any closing statement for this session?
Okay, thank you everybody for joining my class today. Before this class or this session will be ended, we play together because we are done for our activity today. Before we end this session, let's pray together, depend on religion. Pray together. And finish. Thank you, Mr. Teguh.
All right. Thank you very much, Chef. So once more, I said thank you for all the participants for today's meeting. I would like also to thank Mr. Sunardi Song for the industrial insights of this topic. Thank you, Chef Nicky, for the material. I bet we'll see you guys all on tomorrow. Thank you also for the team for Siamolek for facilitating. Thank you, facilitating.
Thank you, Mr. Teguh. Thank you, Mr. Sam. Thank you, Mr. Nicky.
Yes. Thank you.
I hope tomorrow we meet again.
Sure. We will meet again for sure.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
thank you for the participants. So that's all for today's meeting. Thank you. Good afternoon. Have a great day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Permission to leave. Thank you.
Well.
The recording has stopped.